Hello and welcome back to successWerk, the Success Factory. My name is Felix Boecker and I am your success coach on this journey we call life. As you know, I'm trying to introduce you to what coaching is, to who coaches are, by sharing with you conversations I am having with some amazing and wonderful people. So I just finished a conversation with Milena Stojanovic. She comes from Serbia and she has an absolutely incredible journey behind her. Listen in as we talk about what it takes to move to a different country, adjust to a different culture, and help people find purpose in their lives. If you enjoy this content, be sure to like and subscribe. Share this episode with someone who you think might be able to benefit. The more people we can reach, the more people we can help. And if you want to connect with Milena, her contact information will be in the description below. But with all that out of the way, let's get right into this conversation I had with this amazing human being called Milena Stojanovic. Enjoy. Milena, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm honestly, I've been so excited about this all week. So I'm really happy that we get to connect. So why don't we get right into it? Who are you?
Who am I? Hmm. That's a really complicated question. Bringing big guns from the start. I I think it depends who you ask. But who am I if I am to say who I am? Um, a human being, a soul. I'll stop with that.
No, I like that a lot. One of the things that I really want to do with these conversations is to get back to the human experience, right? What does it take to be a human, to connect with another human being? So for you to say that you're a human, that's awesome. That's spot on. That's exactly what I love to hear. So you mentioned a lot in your little blurb when you reached out to me. So what's your story? Like you weren't born in the United States. You came from somewhere. So why don't we start sort of at the beginning?
From the beginning. Wow. Okay. So it was a cold winter of '88. No, I'm joking. There. Yes. So I was born and raised in Serbia, in Europe, former Yugoslavia. So basically, throughout the span of my first, I want to say 12, 13 years, I lived in a country that changed names 3 times. So it went from Yugoslavia to Serbia, Montenegro. Now it's Serbia. Um, Typical, I will retract that because nothing about my childhood was typical. There were a lot of like commotions and unstable political situation and bombing and all of that, but like typical for the surrounding, for the Balkan area. So we managed how we could. um, Serbian people, we're known to be very resilient, very brave. So I'll kind of like take that and as something that I am. I won a green card on a lottery. Yes. And I came here yesterday, was 8 years. I'm a citizen now. Yeah. That's like a short story. I don't know. Ask me what else do you want to know?
No, that's so cool. So, we didn't really get into that in our offline conversation either. So, I was
No,
born
no,
and
no. We
raised
didn't get
in
into anything, and I think that's important for us to say because you're I don't know what we're going to talk about, so I'm like,
well, I know,
I
but like I
love.
said, this is all about getting to know who you are. And so, I was born and raised in Germany. I came to the United States when I was 15, and my country, I would say, was more war torn and destroyed in the before my generation was born.
For our time.
Um, so it different, but even at the time, I remember the wall coming down on television, and I didn't fully understand that. I mean, I always joke that on a pure technicality, I was born in a country that no longer exists, West Germany, right? My birth certificate says I was born in West Germany, not Germany, right? So I can totally relate to that on some level. Although I would say the Balkans had their fair share of struggles throughout those years. So, what brought you to the United States? Did you come by yourself? Did you come with your family? How did that all come down? And by the way, congratulations on the lottery because
Thank you.
That doesn't happen to everybody. Although you're the second person I know that got a green card in the
Oh,
lottery.
really?
So,
Oh, wow.
you know, that's probably just me being lucky and getting to know a lot of people. So, anyways, coming back to you, what got you here? Did you come by yourself, your family? Like, what? How did that shake out?
Well, not even that was typical. I don't know how much you know about lottery. It's 50,000 per year, right? So if you're case number one, and let's say your family counts four members, you're gonna get from one to fourth, and then the case number two will get the fifth one if there is a fifth one, right? So I was extremely high case number. So it was even the question: will there be a green card for me? Not only that, I came here with my husband, whom I've lived with for years prior to that, but we got married in like 3 days so that we can obviously come together. And when I had that interview in embassy, because you go through series of interviews, I was told that there is a green card for me, but not for my husband, and I respectfully declined it. They were all in shock because they were like, "This never happened for someone to say," But I just said, I don't want to, go without him. So, um, like a month after that, a person that had lower case number, they didn't, comply, and then there was a green card for my husband, and again we went again to interview. So, yeah, we came here together, December 2015, straight to Miami, not knowing anyone, with one suitcase.
That red suitcase.
That red suitcase. There you go. You remember it. So, yeah, it was an adventure. Now, thinking of it, I was so brave at the time. I was so brave.
I mean, so Miami is a very internationally represented city. I lived in Miami for 8 years. I did college and medical school there, so it still has a special place in my heart. I mean, there's people there from every culture in the world. So I can, if you look at the United States as a whole, I feel like most people coming from other countries would think New York, LA, those are the big cities that people come to. But certainly from the Latin and South American populations, it's always Miami. But there's certainly probably almost every country represented in Miami. It's definitely a very internationally represented city. So, what made you choose Miami?
The weather.
Ah,
The weather. I had some health challenges, and I do not do well when it's cold. I still do not. So we basically did not have anyone anywhere, and we were like, "Oh, let's go to Miami." We rented the apartment through Craigslist, believe it or not. When we arrived, there was no one wait. It was totally like completely different world. So no one waited for us to give us key, but it was in a lockbox. So we were like trying to figure out the lockbox. How do you open it? Like what? Yeah, now. Yeah, like you're making me, remember it, and it was, you know, immigrant story. It was not easy. It was not easy at all at the beginning, but in that red suitcase, I had my Master of Science in Education. I wanted to see where I am when it comes to American, system. I had it evaluated, and I was lucky enough to get an equivalent of a master degree. Like I finished a regional accredited university in United States, so that was really good because that set me on a path to kind of like work in the field that I went to school for, in education, in higher education.
yeah, yeah. So before we get into the professional and the job side of things, I'm just curious, probably for more personal reasons. I was
Mhm.
15 when I came, so I had English as a second language in Germany for a few years. And I spoke English well enough to get around, but definitely not well enough to survive high school right out of the gate here. Let alone I was put into a college prep school, and I didn't even know what college was at the time when I came here. So now I got, with my 15-year-old English as a second language skills, I got thrown into really the deep end of the cold water pool. What was your English like when you came here to the States?
It was good. We in Serbia, the school system is like that, that you start learning English in third grade, if I'm not mistaken. I am multilingual. I speak four languages, so for me, that part was not difficult. What was difficult was just you come in a different system. Yes, we do have credit cards in Serbia, but that was not used. You handle cash starting from that, and then those big streets, and then you go in Publix or Whole Foods, and you're kind of like, what do I buy? What do I, it's kind of like learning. And I came here when I was 27, and my husband was almost 30. So we came from a background where we were set and okay to something completely new. And now to go back and to answer your question, why did I came if I had quote unquote set life in Serbia? I didn't want to have any regrets. That was an opportunity for me, and I took it. And I didn't want to be 75, 80 and be like, oh my God, I wish I tried it. Or I do not have kids at the moment, but of course, I do plan on having them. And I wanted to give them that opportunity to be able to pick and choose where they want to live. Because again, um, living in Balkans, the area that is not politically stable, you never know. And I had that in the back of my mind to have those options and not have any regrets.
Yeah, yeah. What kind of regrets? So you just thinking about living in other parts of the world, or educationally, professionally? Like, what kind of regrets were you thinking?
In a sense of, if I want a green card, there must be for something. I never won anything in my life. I had to work super hard for everything. So for me, doing something like that, I took it as a sign, and I took it as something, okay, I want to at least try. So it is.
So that's awesome. I love that, living a life with no regrets. I that's the same thing that I always say. I even tell my kids, live a life without excuses, and you'll never have any regrets. Right? I mean, if you find some reason not to do something, you'll either find a reason to do something, or you find an excuse. And if you find an excuse, then down the road, that's how regrets happen. So don't live a life with making excuses for things, and you'll never form those regrets. So I totally resonate with that. I love that for you. That's awesome. I love that you took that jump into the unknown, so you didn't have, or you wouldn't have, any regrets about it down the road. That's amazing. I love that. So speaking professionally, you came with a master's in higher education.
In
Um,
education. In
okay.
education.
So tell me about that. What's the story there?
So one thing that I'm immensely proud of our school system back home is that, and it's proven through and through, and with a lot of my friends that were in different fields that evaluated their degree and got an equivalent, education is very strong and it gives you a very solid foundation. But it's also broad. So it's designed in that way that you basically, once you start working, you choose your niche, to call it like that, or your specialty. When in the United States it's different, right? You have, let's say, master in education, you have master in administration of higher education, you have master in leadership. It can be different things. But in Serbia, it's just master in education, and then throughout your course of going to university of 5 years, you get to learn about everything, right? You get to have that theoretical foundation. I was blessed in that way to be exposed to all facets of what education is, as much as it could be done. And also, my particularly my university, it's a university of philosophy, so there were a lot of philosophical subjects and a lot of psychological subjects. I have over 40 credits of subject in psychology. So it's it's something that makes me very proud, because Serbia is a very small country. And I don't know how much like very small, but very known. And it makes me proud that, a girl from Serbia came and got an equivalent of her master's degree, and I didn't have to take any additional courses. As a matter of fact, I was told that I have credits that they have nowhere to put. So I'm planning on visiting Serbia, visiting my university, and then getting more info, maybe to get like EDD. But it takes time for that. Bureaucracy is super slow in Serbia, so that's in my mind. That's like to do one day. I'm happy with getting the master equivalent, and that's that. I don't know if that answers your question. I kind of like got into.
No, no, that's all good. So yeah, what's EDD? Is that a doctorate in education?
Yes. Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm. Yes.
gotcha. So that was actually you semi answered. I'm wondering if you had ever gone back to Serbia since you've come here to the States.
Yes, but always 2 week stops. That's a corporate world in United States, right? You don't get to have more days. And for that I was planning to do visiting my university, because it's in different city than where my parents live, and like I said, bureaucracy is a little bit slower. It will take time, and I really never got so into it. If I wanted to do it, let's be honest, I would do it by now. But yeah,
Yeah, that's
one
totally fine. So your parents are still back in Serbia.
my entire family is there except for my
Yeah,
husband.
yeah. So you're in Miami now.
Yes,
How's that been working out for you?
I love it.
What's
I
what's
love
your
it.
favorite What's your favorite part of Miami?
Miami is what you make of it. Miami is what you make of it, and I think every place in the world is what you make of it. Heaven and hell are in us. So you get to choose. If you're consciously living, you get to choose your life. You get to choose your day. You get to choose your morning. From the moment you get up, you put your foot down, you get to choose how you're going to live. Or they chooses instead of you. So you have to kind of like decide what you want to do with life. My favorite, oh my God, there's so many things. I love the weather, like I mentioned before. I love the food. Like you mentioned, it's melting pot, cultural, everything and anything. I love my friends. I love my community. Miami has been my home away from home, and I have nothing to compare it with in United States. So I've never lived anywhere else. I visited, but I never lived anywhere else. And it's funny, every time I'm in a plane coming back and I look at Miami from the sky, and I'm like, home. So I love it here. I love it.
No, it's you're so right. Miami almost doesn't belong to the United States. It's it certainly doesn't belong to the state of Florida compared to the rest of the state. It's a very unique place, and yeah, you hit the nail right on the head. The food, that's the one thing I
Mhm.
absolutely miss is the food.
What's your
Amazing stuff.
favorite food, Felix? What's your favorite food from Miami?
So I have really gotten into Cuban foods when I
Mm.
was there. Even any of the Latin American influences, really. I really got into that when I was in Miami, and I really miss the good mojo rice
Mhm.
and platanos maduros.
Thanos.
Right? I mean, it's those are things that you just can't really get well anywhere else, other than in the Caribbean, Latin American world. So that's something I for sure miss. But speaking of Miami now, so I have to ask how much of a local you really are. What's your favorite beach?
This is controversial.
Oh, I know. I'll
You're
tell you my
putting me
answer
out.
too.
You're putting me out there. But for me, South Beach, no matter how South and Fifth.
Okay, all right. I'm
Um,
very partial to Key Biscayne. That was
yes,
definitely
love it
Key
too.
Biscayne. I think
Love it.
was always for me a nicer spot because it was not as crowded. I felt
Hmm.
the sand was a little nicer too. So when it comes to just relaxing and lounging, I always felt Key Biscayne was a little better. But
And
no,
there's a dog
that's
park there. There's a dog park there, and I have a dog, so I love that. I love Key Biscayne, but early in the morning.
yeah. So are you so coming back to your professional side of things? What are
Mhm.
you doing right now? Are you teaching still? Are you in education? What's the story there?
So we got connected over our coaching program. So I'm going full in. I kind of like. I feel like I closed the circle on my higher education career, and I gave it my all. And it's time for something else in my life. I believe a person can live many lives. Also, that part of corporate environment, it's something that um, it's not working for me in a way that I want to have the freedom, the liberty to be a little bit in Europe, a little bit here, to be more with my parents. They're getting older. So, just, all in all, when you look at life, I decided that coaching is my passion. It's what I've been doing for a while, even not knowing. Part of my professional journey was also mentoring and coaching students. So, I kind of have been coaching for a while, and it's something that I thoroughly enjoy. I have a little bit of scare of going all in into it as my business. I do work as a coach, but all of my clients are referrals. So now it's time to scale it on like online level and just have that online presence. So I'm a little bit like, oh, will I be able to do it? But yeah, that's where I am now.
So, how did you find Lumia?
Okay. So I have. Do you know about NLP, neuro linguistical programming?
I do. I enjoy it myself.
Perfect. So I'm internationally certified practitioner. And I guess I was trying to find a way to get out of education and kind of like do something more for myself. So I finished NLP, it was a year long program. And I was like, okay, coaching. I have to be very honest. For me, coaching had a bad rap in a sense of everyone can call themselves life coaches, and I have nothing against that. Um, we all have our parts in this world. We all have our role. World is a stage, and we are merely players. How Shakespeare says, and we all have many roles. But for me, I'm scholar. I'm science oriented, evidence based. I need to see an evidence. I need to understand why would I listen to you. What are your credentials? I'm big on that. So for me, coaching was always in the back of my mind, but I didn't know it was a regulated field. So one evening, I was roaming through YouTube, and there was I love technology as well, and I love agile principles, Scrum Master role. I'm fascinated with everything that has something to do with organizational psychology, because I do feel that emotional intelligence, or EQ, there is a difference but between that, but we'll not go into that now. It's very much needed in professional realm, because there's a lot of managers or C-suites executives that are not emotionally regulated. So that's something that I love, like reading about, researching about, knowing more about. So I stumbled upon a video. I believe it was like Agile Coach Pat, and a coach was explaining, okay, you cannot just be Agile coaches. There's ICF. And I was like, ICF? What is that? I started Googling about ICF. Imagine my surprise when I realized that coaching is a regulated field, and that there's ICF, International Coaching Federation, and there are 3 levels and all of that. And my face just lit. I remember that night I was researching until 7 a.m. I was like, this is amazing. Okay, the next step was finding a school. Lumia hit, I did a thorough research. Lumia hit all the marks for me. And what sell Lumia for me the most was Noelle, our co-founder of Lumia. I love her approach with coaching. I love that she's a scholar. I part of my work is building curriculums, so it's very important for me that there's a curriculum, there are rules and regulations and the way you do things, and not because I said so and not because I want to do it like that. It's because there is a reason why it's done. So, yeah, that's how I found Lumia. I started not even a month after I got my NLP international certificate, and I graduated with signature in September. Actually, I finished everything this August, but I forgot to press send. So technically, my end date was September 2023, which is fine. So now I'm working towards getting my ACC.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome. So many things resonate with me of what you just said. I too am very science driven. You can see the books in the background. Uh, I need and being a physician too, like I come from a family of engineers and scientists, so I'm very much also data driven, science driven. But the like you said, in the world of leadership, there's little EQ, right? And making a difference there is definitely big time. And I can tell you also from my experience, I came at coaching with a very limited mindset until probably about 2 years ago, because my parents always said coaches were swindlers and snake oil salesmen, and there's what do you need coaches for in this life, anyways? And it wasn't until I actually did the homework for myself that I discovered what coaching really is. And so that was actually my initial intent with this podcast now, with talking to people like you, with other coaches, to share what the power of coaching really means, to change that idea of what coaching can be. Because not only do people not know what coaching is and what coaching can do for them, the other thing you mentioned was that there are people out there, anybody can call themselves a coach, and there's people out there who haven't received any training, who slap the label of coach on themselves, and they will not come at it with the same skill sets that you and I have. And you have the additional skill set of the NLP training as well. I just read a book on that, but I didn't go through a course on NLP, but I'm fascinated by it myself. So uh, I, I I absolutely agree with everything that you said there. So, who are your ideal clients? Like, who are you trying to coach? What difference are you trying to make in the world?
Great question. But before I answer, will you do me a pleasure and answer what about NLP you like the most so far?
The thing. So let me give you the backstory of how I got into coaching to give you a better idea of that. Um, I was dissatisfied with my career in medicine because I never wanted to go in medicine in the first place. And so I was looking for a couple of years ago. I was looking for my way out, and the natural first step for anybody looking to get out of their job seems to be real estate. Everybody, talks about real estate as the way to get out of their employed position into something that generates more passive income, more passion. And I got interested in real estate. Within real estate, there's a big community called Bigger Pockets. They had a podcast that I was listening to religiously. The host at the time was Brandon Turner. And in one of the episodes, Brandon was talking about his coach, Jason Dries, and the difference that Jason had made in his life. And again, at that point, I still had that limited mindset. I was like, why would a multimillionaire talk about coaching like that? I mean, that's just silly. I mean, you're self-made. You got everything you need. Like, why do you need a coach? And so then I looked into coaching. That's how I learned about Jason Dries and coaching. And Jason does some frame shifts with his clients. They're absolutely fascinating, and they're all talk. It's very much on self-talk, positive self-talk, but speaking out loud. And so then I was curious about what's the science behind that. Why does that work, right? Because I started doing that a little bit for myself. Even I was like, this actually kind of does work. And so then I got into learning a little bit more about NLP as a whole, and some of the visualization, the auditory feedback you get, and the visual feedback you get, really has had an interesting impact on my life. I've kind of dabbled with it a little bit with some clients, trying to do a little bit of stuff that I've gathered from books, and I've always had a good response with it, really a positive response, where the mindset shifted in a matter of minutes with it, which was absolutely fascinating to me. That something that's seemingly simple can have such a profound impact in such a short amount of time. And so, I am very much an NLP amateur, but I'm very much fascinated by what's behind it. And I'm definitely going to learn much more about it because I want to incorporate more of that in my own coaching practice as well.
You? I'm here for you.
I love
Teach
it.
me.
I will. I most certainly will. If there's any specific circumstances that I come across, I most certainly will reach out. It's good to have someone in your corner who knows this stuff.
Of course.
So yeah, no, that's how I learned about NLP. And like I said, it's very much I'm very much a scratching the surface where I'm at with it. But it definitely, I've seen some incredible mindset shifts in just a very short period of time with it, and that's been fascinating.
I love that. I love that. Now, for me to answer your question, who's my ideal client? I do believe that you coach a person, not a problem. And if you're a good coach, you can coach anyone on any topic. Now, niching, as everything is in business, I do understand it's important because you don't have to, but like you narrow it down so that you talk to a specific person, because sometimes when it's so broad, you end up not talking to anyone, right? So I do understand that part. My experience with my clients is that with NLP, and you did mention that mindset is one of the strongest things that we have. So I identify myself as a mindset coach, and mindset shifts are the difference when you're waving left and right. If you change your mindset, or you adjust it, or I have that word, you recalibrate it, you will change a lot of things in your life. So my practice is, I work now, if I think about it, I work with clients that are successful, that they know what coaching is. So someone needs to know something in order to appreciate it and cherish it. A person that does not see a value in coaching, they will not get a value from coaching. They will not maybe even want to get coached. The difference between like a therapy and coaching, and consultant and mentor, all of those very, very different fields. So they're high achievers. They got stuck in life in one point in something, and they know that they can do more, but they're stuck, and something is not allowing them to move forward with what they want to do, or they're not moving forward fast enough, or it's not checking the boxes for them. Also, I'm working a lot with neurodivergence. Um, so just that executive brain function and the way they see the world, it's very close to me. And I have experience with that as well from my previous life. So that's my client. But again, to go back to that, you coach a person, you do not coach a problem. So if you are good coach, and allow me, like, I just want to be very clear, you can be a good coach in a way without training. That's arguable now, but you can have that innate ability to be active listener, empathetic, to hit all those marks that a good coach is. But I also strongly believe that, since I believe in education and I believe in training, evidence-based coaching is where I'm going with my practice, and is where I am. So I use a lot of research findings, empirical evidence coaching. Why is that? Not because I said so. As a coach, you do not give advices. You hold that mirror and that flashlight, but also I believe you should offer something more to your client, in a way that, if they're receptive to that, a test or a book or a plan or accountability path or time management. Time management is not time issue, but emotional regulation issue. But that's again another story. But you should be able to give more. If you're not giving that, if you're not knowledgeable, if you're not standing on the base of skills and everything you accumulated in your professional work and in your training, you're maybe just a good interviewer, empathetic listener, but to be coach as a whole, I believe that training is necessary.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree, and I think the big thing for me is just like we said at the beginning of this conversation. It's about the human experience, and getting back to what it takes to be a human in this today's modern world. We have I feel like we're too distracted by all this wonderful technology, and I'm absolutely a geek. I'm a technophile. I love all this stuff, but it's really taken away from the human experience, and that's, I think, one of the things that us as coaches is a place where we can make a difference in getting people back to what it takes to be human. You have to be worried about AI at all. You have to be worried about being human. Let's worry about being human at the very basic level. And I absolutely agree. It's about coaching the person and not the problem. The
Well,
problem is really
loving
just a
yourself is an art. Sorry, I
No,
cut
I
you.
was just gonna
You
say the
start.
problem is just the manifestation of being human, right? That's all it is. So getting deeper down is drilling deeper down. It's about the person. What were you gonna say about AI?
No, I wanted to say more about love and human than AI. AI
Oh yeah,
is here to stay. It's we have to we should find a way to work around it and make it work in our benefit, and just recalibrate ourselves and recalibrate even more. But what's our weapon in this fight? It's not a fight, but it's like a new. People are scared of unknown. AI is something that is here, that is going to stay, that is going to progress, and let's embrace it. Let's make it to work for us instead of us working for it. But I wanted to talk about love and human, and loving yourself is an art, and you cannot love yourself if you do not know yourself. So getting to know yourself, you will love your it's a whole life ordeal. Know thyself. I think that's the hardest thing in the world, to really really know yourself. But the closer we are to that, no amount of AI or aliens or whoever can touch us, because you know who you are. And once you know who you are, you understand that there are many more others that are just themselves and so unique, and you have that innate human compassion towards them, and empathy. So when you really love yourself, you love everyone around yourself.
absolutely.
that's
It
the
begins
only
with yourself.
way that's the only way to, I guess, progress with everything that is happening and just stay human.
You're spot on. Absolutely, it begins with yourself, and then having that connection with other people, and that love component that goes along with it. The question that I have, just from your perspective, there's a lot of people in my world who are seeking their purpose. They're trying to figure out who they are, what it takes to be human in today's world. Do you think that's a modern problem, or do you think that has always been a problem? It's just with the advent of social media, we're more aware of it because more people are sharing their struggles.
That's a question as old as the world. We always wanted to know who we are. And we always go back to basic, to that Greek philosophers, to Socrates, Plato, all of that. I just believe that we as humans, we came to a certain level. And again, I'm just talking about Western civilization here, not like, you know, everyone, but we are comfortable, right? At the moment, we are comfortable, even though there are horrible things happening in the world at this very moment. But we progress to a certain point, right? We have now more time, maybe to we're not worried about food. Again, I'm not talking about everyone, I'm just talking about our world here. We're not worried so much about food, about shelter. And again, I'm not trying to generalize. So we are like, okay, what's the meaning of life? We're going back to that. And I think COVID was the part where it really, the world stopped, and it got us to think.
You
We're
had
like,
to, right? Because you were stuck
yeah,
at home. You had nothing else to do.
and that arose again. But it's a question as old as beginning of the world. And in people, we always wanted to know who we are. It's just sometimes we could deal with that, sometimes we could not deal with that, because external circumstances. But that question is inside of us. I strongly believe that the entire time. It's just, and I don't think we will get close to it. I see that as the biggest win in life, when someone knows themselves pretty well, and you can feel that. It's how they walk, how they talk. You can see it in their energy, and that's the biggest success in life.
Yeah. So if you think about this, then this goes a little bit back to the EQ that we are talking about earlier in the conversation. If all of us have always been struggling with this, why does it take coaches to sort through that mist? Why aren't we as humans working together better to solve all of our problems?
Mhm.
Because if you think about it, it's this struggle for searching for identity that's causing these social strives across cultures, countries. That's why wars are being fought. That's where the different philosophies between different religions, they go head to head against it. But why aren't we working together more? Why are we trying to isolate each other so much? Why are we in a competition if we're all having the same struggle?
If I had answer to that question, I think world will be heaven. Have answer to that question. Coaches are needed so much. I see coaches as, you know how when people like walk and then there's one person carrying a torch and like lighting the future, because coaching is very much future driven, right? What happened, like, and not to take away that's therapy realm, but what are we going to do next? In NLP, there's I had an amazing coach, um, NLP professor, I want to say, and she said in Serbian, I will translate it. It's like, it is what it is. It's how it is, ma'am. She would always say that, because we will say, oh, but it's how it is. What are we going to do to move forward? How are we going to move forward? So coaching is what, with that future visioning and all the other techniques, takes you to the future you that you want to be, because you're there, you're participating in coaching, you're asking for coaching, you want to work on whatever needs, you believe needs to be addressed. That's big.
I absolutely agree. And I think from my perspective, that's exactly why I love coaching so much. So I mean, I have a history of depression, suicidal ideations. I've been through therapy. I've been on 7 different antidepressants over the course of my life. And the problem I always had with therapy was, can we stop talking about my past? Like, my past is done. I can't do anything about it. I want to move forward. And I wasn't able to do that until I found coaching. And I was able to process through some of the stuff on how to actually move myself forward. That it completely changed my life. Right. I finally found the what I was looking for, which was that future visioning, that goal setting, the looking for a purpose, looking for a mission, looking for a way forward, as opposed to being anchored by my past. But you're right. There's some people that need to release those anchors first before they can move forward. So there's obviously a role for therapy for some people. Um,
Not one shoe fits all, and nothing is better than the other thing. Like, nothing is
Absolutely.
better. Everything should work in symbiosis, and everything has a reason why. I can tell you my experience, due to, like I mentioned, the war area and just unstable political situation. I had like a lot of dissociation. So I could not remember good times, bad times, names. For me, a talking therapy did not do much. What did for me was somatic therapy, because there's also trauma that is trapped in your body as well. So different things will work for different people, and whatever works, do it. But coaching is something that is definitely, I see it as everyone will benefit. There's not one person that will not benefit from coaching, because we all have something. At least we want to have something to talk about, right? And sometimes coaching session will be a client is talking and you're just there listening to them, because that's what they need at that moment. They need someone impartial, not a family member, not a friend. So it's a field that I see blooming and booming and expanding and getting more regulated.
Yes, which I think the regulations are necessary in the long run, because we are dealing with people's emotions, and that could be a tricky area
Absolutely.
like, you could really mess things up if you don't start to
Absolutely.
regulate, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for that. That's the reason why I love that it is regulated, and that's the reason why I was drawn to it, and actually went through like a year training. Think about it. We go like in Lumia, we have like a year long training, like over 130, 120 hours of coaching, mentoring hours. It's huge because you're dealing with people.
Yes. Dealing with people.
You're not
That's
dealing with
exactly right.
machines. You're dealing with people, and people are, we are tender beings, and it's needed to know how we operate.
Yeah. No, that is so true. That is so true. So, bit of a philosophical question, maybe, but what do you think if you could change something about the way that coaching is done? What would that be? Like, what do you think every coach should do differently or could do better than the way we're approaching it right now? Where are the areas of opportunity for this profession?
I would not allow myself liberty to say that something, I would do, that something is not working and I will do it better, simply because I also see myself at the beginning of this road. And not only that, I very much believe in authenticity. So to go back to my story, that you can be a coach just naturally, but it's small percentage of people just have it in that. And again, that I also think it's a combination of prior training that puts you in that situation, that you have, that you're hitting all the marks to be well-rounded coach. But where I would go with coaching is where it's headed, just being more regulated. And it's also, I love that it's a field that you can create in it, because if you have a scholar mindset and you approach it and you're like, okay, let's do this research, let's do that, let's see what comes out of this, let's come out of that, it's a new field. Yes, it is standing on like roots of philosophy and psychology, and some even in medicine, but it's a field that it's constantly evolving and changing. So it's exciting for me to be part of that.
Yeah. No, but that's why I was asking. Everything is the world is constantly changing, and coaching as a profession is still in its infancy. So, over the course of our lifetimes, 20 years from now, coaching will look somewhat different than it does today, and I don't know what that's going to look like. But I'm always looking for ways to tweak things or improve things and make them better. So, I was just curious about your perspective. If there's something that we should start to be aware of as coaches, maybe for what the future holds, or something that we all could do better.
I feel maybe that connection more with psychology and philosophy and somatic practices. I know there's an issue in coaching like somatic coaching. I don't know much about it. I have to admit, I will get myself more familiar with it. But it goes back to that, just being more evidence based, with more substance, I guess. And the more time passes and the more we approach it from that angle, I believe it will just come naturally.
Yeah. No, that's so true. So, speaking of authenticity and
Mm.
substance, I actually recently published a book on how to network better, and
Oh
it's
wow,
it's
I
it's a
need that book.
tool. Yeah, so it's not an academic book. It's not a textbook. Uh,
That's
it's
okay.
it's it's actually a bit of a social science experiment. So what yeah, I don't know if you had it in Serbia, but when I grew up in Germany, we had these friendship journals in elementary school, and you would give
Mhm.
them to your friend, and they would fill out their bio, like what they wanted to be, right? And
Your
I still
favorite
have mine.
color, your favorite food.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
exactly, right. And I still have mine from second and third grade, and it's so fun to look back at what people were saying then and how they turned out now. So I created essentially a book. There's space for 100 people in it. That's based on that principle. That ask people different questions about who they are. And the idea is it's a bit like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon,
Mm.
and message in a bottle. Like, you throw it out into the ether. You don't know if it's ever going to come back to you. But hopefully you'll also get introduced to people that you would otherwise never get introduced to. So what you end up doing, instead of giving it to someone, they give it back to you, and then you give it to someone else, and then you give it back to you. You give it to someone, they fill out their stuff, and then they give it to someone else who fills out their stuff, who gives it to someone else, right? And then that goes on for 100 people, and then the book circles back to you. So in theory, you should have 100 people in the book who you have no possibility of possibly being introduced to in any other way. So again, this goes back to networking better, being more on the human experience side of things, going deeper to the substance of what it means to be human. So I want to ask you a few questions that I have in the book to see where you stand. And these are the fun questions. Right? These are not the you've been through all the hard questions. These are the fun ones.
Go ahead. Go ahead. By the way,
So
I love that, Felix, and it sounds to me almost like poetic what you're
yeah,
doing.
it's something. It actually the one of the persons I sent it to posted on LinkedIn last weekend, and it kind of blew up LinkedIn for the weekend. And it's kind of fun to see where it goes. So I have no idea. I bought five of them myself, and I sent them to five people, and so I'm still trying to figure out where this is going to go. If anything is going to come of it, like I said, it's a bit of an experiment, but it's definitely it's a fun project. So, what is a place you haven't been to yet but really want to visit?
Machu Picchu in Peru.
Mm, yeah, that's a good one. That's definitely on my list too. I've had a friend go a few years ago, and it looked amazing. The hikes were great, so uh, I can relate to that. Would you rather take a cold shower on a hot day or a hot bath on a cold day?
Always hot. Always hot.
So the hot bath on a cold day.
Hmm.
All right. Now this goes back to the travel. Would you rather get to your destination quickly and spend more time there, or take your time and enjoy the journey instead?
I would say depends, but in majority of times is the first one. I just want to get there as fast as possible. I do have a little bit of airport anxiety. I make it.
Yeah.
So just be there and then plan. So yeah, the first one.
All right. Good. This last one is the oddest one. Would you rather have a cat that barks or a dog that meows?
Always dog. I'm a dog person.
All right. You did say you have a little puppy, so I
Yeah.
can see that. Now, here's one thing that I'm also starting, not just the with this new podcast recording software, but here's your opportunity to ask the next guest any question you want. I got that from the Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett. He does that on his show.
He's
You
amazing.
don't know you have no idea who the next guest is. Honestly, I don't even know who the next guest is. But you get to ask the next guest a question. What would you like to ask them?
I would ask, what's the one thing that people do that gives you hope in a humanity?
That's a deep question. I love that. All right, so I'll be sure to ask that question to the next guest, and then they get to pass the question on to the next guest, and so forth. So it's a new thing that I want to do here. Uh, Milena, this has been an absolutely stunning conversation. Any
We're done.
final? Well, I know, right? Any final words from you? Anything else you want to share with the world?
I enjoyed it. Guys, this was my first podcast. So go easy on me. I loved it. And I'm here anytime, you want to record again. And I promise I will get better and better and better. I will learn where my eyes need to go, like here or here by that time, once I watch this. But I enjoyed, all jokes aside, I enjoyed our conversation. I loved it. It's short. I would like it's longer, so that means that I really really enjoyed it. I was a little bit nervous before it, so I'm apologizing if you can see that through the screen. Again, English is not my first language; it's my third. So forgive me if I'm not pronouncing something properly, but yeah, it's been a pleasure. I really really enjoyed it. I had so much fun.
No, the
Thank you,
pleasure is all
Felix.
mine. This was a absolutely wonderful conversation. Where can people reach out to you? How can they find you? How can they connect with you?
Okay, that's again a funny story because I'm in the process of rebranding. But they can find me, my name and last name on LinkedIn. That's the easiest way to find me. So Milena Stojanovic, or you can find me on Instagram. I'm courageous with Milena, and courageous is spelled in French. So I'm finding that it's difficult for clients to find me because I had that idea. So now I'm learning about marketing and branding, that it should be a little bit simpler and easier for people to find you. But LinkedIn is your best bet for now. Be watch out. I'm in the process of building my website. Like I said, I enjoy working with my clients that are word of mouth, and I see that as a biggest success. But it's also time for me to spread my wings and get to connect with more people. So I'm working on that.
Absolutely. And I'll be sure to leave whatever links you have for people to connect with you in the description. So if they want to reach out to you, if they want to connect, they can do so. Thank you again. This has been wonderful, and you're always welcome to come back. I think we should probably have some episode in the future on just talking about NLP and what it can do and what it does and what it is. Yeah, we will. There's plenty more to come, I think.
Thank you.
This is just the start.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. I really hope you enjoyed that. The questions that I asked towards the end are from my new book, The Simple Networking Tool. It's a great book that redefines how we network. It's all about who someone is and not what they are. So if you want to get your own book, it's available on Amazon. If you want to learn more, there's videos about it here on YouTube. So you can check out this amazing new social science experiment. I'm so excited for it. If you do get a book and you do start your own, please let me know how it goes and what your experience is like. I'm working on the second edition and I want to make it the best one yet. So be sure to tag me, let me know how it goes. Thanks for watching.